Revolutionary. That's the only word fit for a suit that lets you fly like Iron Man, a wing that turns you into a missile, or a six-engine beast hitting 200 miles per hour on your back. From backyard breakthroughs to world records in midair, these aren't fantasies. They're flight redefined. Get ready to witness the 20 revolutionary jetpack inventions that changed the world.
JB-11 Jet Thrust Beast. Forget slow, clunky jetpacks of the past. The JB-11 is built differently, faster, smarter, and ready to fly over 200 miles per hour with 6 turbojet engines strapped to your back. Jetpack aviation didn't just level up. They redefined what personal flight looks like. This isn't a machine that asks nicely. It lifts off with power and control, offering up to 12 minutes of flight depending on pilot weight and throttle. That's miles of range, not just a jump and drop. Each of the 6 engines is part of a redundant thrust system, meaning if one fails midair, the others pick up the slack. Paired with auto-stabilization technology, the JB-11 keeps you upright, balanced, and locked in while hitting speeds that rival helicopters. Fuel options are practical, kerosene or diesel, with a built-in backpack tank system. It's designed for the real world, not some lab fantasy. Every element is functional, field-ready, and built to perform under real conditions. In 2018, it made headlines when it flew live at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. The first jetpack to ever do so in Europe. That wasn't a stunt, it was a statement, and the FAA certification in the experimental category backs it up. At just under 115 pounds dry, the JB-11 is surprisingly compact for what it delivers. Next-level thrust, precise flight control, and real endurance in the air. Jetman Wings of Fire. This is Jetman Dubai's Jetwing, designed by Yves Rossi. And it's not a jetpack. It's something far more radical. A fully powered rigid wingsuit that turns the human form into a guided missile. Powered by 4 JetCat P400 jet engines, this machine launches its pilot into straight-line, high-altitude flight, not hovering, but soaring. It's hit speeds over 189 miles per hour, with up to 6 minutes of continuous flight. No wires, just full throttle. The wing is built from carbon fiber, keeping it lightweight, aerodynamic, and tough enough to handle high-stress maneuvers. The control system? It's the human body. Pitch, roll, and yaw are all controlled by shifts in body weight and position. The result? A flight that feels closer to bird instinct than mechanical systems. It's not a vertical takeoff rig. Launches typically begin from a helicopter or aircraft, but once airborne, the Jetwing becomes a self-powered, high-performance flight platform. Rossi has flown it over the Alps, across the Grand Canyon, and even in formation with fighter jets. This isn't just performance, it's precision. Every second in the air is guided by practiced body control and jet-assisted stability. It's one of the few systems where human and machine are fused this tightly in mid-air. Jetman Dubai's Jetwing doesn't aim to be practical. It aims to prove what's possible, and it does, with terrifying grace and unmatched speed. Gravity Suit Real Iron Man. It began as a prototype in a garage. Today, it's one of the most advanced personal flight systems in the world, earning its creator the title of the real-life Iron Man. The Gravity Industries jet suit, developed by British inventor Richard Browning, is a fully functioning flight system powered by 5 miniature jet turbines, 2 mounted on each arm and 1 on the back. Together, they generate more than 1,000 horsepower, enabling vertical lift and maneuverability unlike any other jetpack in history. What sets this suit apart is the method of control. There's no joystick, no flight deck, no autopilot. Direction and balance come entirely from the pilot's own body. Arm angles adjust thrust vectoring, while posture and subtle movement stabilize the flight path. It's not just flying a machine, it's becoming part of it. The suit runs on Jet A1 or diesel fuel, delivering speeds of over 85 miles per hour and flights of around 5 to 8 minutes, depending on load and throttle. In 2017, Browning set a Guinness World Record for the fastest speed in a body-controlled jet suit, officially proving its capabilities on a global stage. Gravity Industries has since taken the suit far beyond demonstration. It's been tested for search and rescue, special forces training, and even organized into competitive racing events where multiple pilots race through aerial obstacle courses at high speed. The appeal isn't just in its performance, it's in what it represents. A working wearable flight system that bridges the gap between imagination and engineering. Flyboard Air Sky Surfer. It looks like a video game mod. It sounds like a jet engine spinning out of control. And when it lifts off, it redefines personal flight. This is the Flyboard Air, a gas turbine-powered hoverboard that doesn't need wings, wheels, or rails. Invented by Frankie Zapata, the mind behind Zapata Racing, it's one of the wildest and most visually insane flight systems ever built. At a glance, it looks like the rider is just standing on air. No harness, no frame, just boots locked into a small board that pushes thrust through turbines mounted underneath. But this thing is no toy. It's been clocked at over 100 miles per hour, with altitudes that push nearly 10,000 feet and enough power to carry a full-grown pilot with fuel strapped on the back. Control comes through body lean and hand throttle, and while it looks chaotic, it's a highly responsive platform that requires serious skill to master. There's no room for error at those speeds and altitudes. In 2019, Zapata flew the Flyboard Air across the English Channel, refueling midair on a support vessel. It wasn't just a stunt, it was a statement. This tech isn't theory. It's working, flying, and setting records. Each unit runs on kerosene or Jet A1 fuel, and it's stabilized by a custom-built flight computer that adjusts thrust in real time across its multiple turbines. The Flyboard Air isn't meant to sit in a museum. It's built to rip through the sky with unfiltered force. It doesn't hover, it tears loose, turning the pilot into a vertical missile with balance, burn, and barely any footprint. H-202 Chemical Flight Legacy. The H-202 Jetpack from Jetpack International isn't built for long-distance glory. It's built for pure explosive lift. A jetpack that launches hard and lands sharp, fueled by concentrated hydrogen peroxide and raw nerve. Each flight lasts only 33 to 43 seconds, but during that window, you're climbing up to 120 feet, accelerating with monopropellant force and manually controlling every movement midair. There's no fly-by-wire, just heat, pressure, and your skill on the throttle. This isn't an automated flight. This is human-controlled propulsion, where reaction time is everything. Pilots spent months training for those few seconds of airtime, and when the engines fired, every ounce of that training mattered. The H-202 was never mass-produced. It wasn't a showroom piece. But Jetpack International opened the door for serious hobbyists and engineers by selling individual components, letting dedicated flyers build their own version from the ground up. The result? Garages turned into launch pads, and backyards became test zones for vertical lift. It doesn't have the range or payload of next-gen models, and it doesn't try to. The H-202 earned its place in jetpack history by doing something far more important, proving powered, untethered human flight could be achieved with just chemistry and courage. Its design directly influenced the next generation of packs, including more advanced hydrogen peroxide and turbine-based rigs. Without the H-202, modern jetpacks wouldn't be where they are. P-12, Consumer Jetpack Prototype. Some jetpacks are built for stunts. The P-12 from Martin Aircraft Company was built to be the first real consumer-grade jetpack, and it came with enough power, lift, and control to actually pull it off. Unlike the compact turbine strap designs that dominate personal flight, the P-12 takes a different route. It's a ducted fan jetpack, powered by a 200-horsepower gasoline engine, not jets or peroxide. Two massive fans sit on either side of the pilot, providing stable vertical thrust with computer-controlled fly-by-wire assistance. With a projected top speed around 46 miles per hour and a ceiling of nearly 3,000 feet, the P-12 wasn't designed for flash. It was designed to carry real payloads, fly for up to 30 minutes, and offer something jetpacks rarely can: reliable, stable, manned flight that could be adapted for rescue, security, or industrial use. In 2015, Martin Aircraft Company announced the P-12 would go on sale for about $150,000, targeting emergency response teams and government buyers. It was never meant to be a backyard toy. This machine was built to be a practical aerial mobility with full vertical takeoff and landing. The carbon fiber frame and reinforced structure gave it real-world durability, while a ballistic parachute system added a critical safety layer. Add a smart flight control system and a user-friendly layout, and the P-12 became one of the closest steps toward mainstream jetpack aviation. It didn't just fly. It aimed to change how people move through complex terrain, disasters, or remote zones. The P-12 wasn't chasing records, it was chasing relevance, proving that jetpacks could be more than spectacle. Maverick Aviation Jetpack. This isn't about thrill rides or stunt shows. The Maverick Jetpack was built to get to work in places helicopters can't reach and humans can't safely go. Developed by Maverick Aviation, this jetpack is a hands-free, semi-autonomous VTOL system, engineered for use in disaster response, construction, and offshore operations. It's not designed to look cool. It's designed to save lives, lift payloads, and fly with purpose. At its core is a patent-pending flight control system that keeps the unit stable without manual piloting. The operator doesn't steer like a drone pilot or balance like a jetpack flyer. It's intuitive, reactive, and partially self-correcting. That's the kind of tech you want when the terrain's unpredictable and the job can't afford delays. It's got serious lift power too. With a range of 3 to 5 miles and a high payload capacity, the Maverick Jetpack can carry a human or reconfigure into a remotely operated heavy-lift drone, switching between manned and unmanned modes in the field. It's compact, modular, and rugged enough to be deployed where conventional gear can't land, from collapsed buildings to tight urban environments to ocean platforms. Whether it's dropping into a fire zone or hoisting equipment to an offshore rig, this jetpack isn't asking for permission. It's already in motion. Forget fantasy. The Maverick Jetpack was built for real-world chaos, with utility-first engineering that proves personal flight isn't just for spectacle. It's for solving problems no one else can reach fast enough. Sky Flash DIY Jetpack. It wasn't built in a lab. It was built in a garage, strapped to a car roof for tests, and aimed straight at the edge of what's possible. The Sky Flash Jetpack isn't a commercial model or a product you can buy. It's a homemade jet-propelled wing system developed by an ambitious German pilot working off Eva Rossi's foundation. And it was designed to do one thing most others couldn't: take off from the ground. That alone sets it apart. Most jet-wing systems need an aerial launch. Skyflash doesn't. It powers up, throttles down, and lifts off like a vertical rocket. The wing itself is rigid, and the propulsion comes from real turbine engines, not mock-ups or scale models. And in case anything goes sideways, it's equipped with a rocket-deployed parachute, because when you're flying gear that's pushing boundaries, safety has to launch just as fast. Skyflash never became a mass-market machine, but it carved out a place in the jetpack timeline as a DIY breakthrough. A reminder that innovation doesn't just come from funded tech firms or aerospace giants. Sometimes it comes from a guy, a wing, and an open road. Skyflash didn't just try to replicate Rossi's success. It aimed to push it even further, down to earth, into the hands of individuals with just enough engineering skill and zero interest in waiting for permission. This isn't the future polished. It's the future raw. Burning fuel, making noise, and lifting off anyway. Iron Cub 3, Flying Robot Jetpack. Jetpacks were always built for humans, until one was built to be one. Iron Cub 3, the world's first jet-powered humanoid robot. Developed by the Italian Institute of Technology, this machine doesn't just fly, it walks, balances, calculates, and then lifts off like something out of science fiction. It's got 4 miniature jet engines, 2 mounted on its arms, 2 on its back. The body, a modified version of IIT's iCub humanoid, but reinforced with a titanium spine and wrapped in heat-shielded armor to survive exhaust hotter than 800 degrees Celsius. This isn't cosplay. It's a controlled vertical liftoff from a humanoid frame. No strings, no pilots, just code, AI, and pure jet thrust. In 2025, during a live test, Iron Cub 3 achieved its first hovering flight, rising nearly 50 centimeters into the air and maintaining balance via onboard sensors and algorithms. It didn't crash. It didn't wobble. It stabilized midair, shifting its limbs like a robotic Iron Man, guided by real-time airflow data and thrust vectoring. The vision? Aerial robots that can fly into collapsed buildings, through disaster zones, or onto spacecraft. No risk to humans, just autonomous flight with humanoid versatility. EZ Fly Turbojet. The pilot stands upright, no seat, just jet turbines beneath the feet and throttle in hand, ready for vertical lift. This is the Easy Fly Turbojet, a compact, turbine-powered flight platform developed by Frankie Zapata, the same engineer behind the Flyboard Air. But unlike its faster, risk-heavy sibling, the Easy Fly was built with stability, safety, and ease of use in mind, without sacrificing performance. It's often called a flying Segway, but that undersells what it really is. A jet platform with vertical takeoff and real maneuverability, capable of lifting a human pilot straight into the air from flat ground using multiple microturbines delivering precise thrust. The design emphasizes user balance and minimal training. Unlike traditional jetpacks, there's no complex body steering. The Easy Fly uses a set of fixed hand controls, while onboard stabilization handles real-time balancing. This makes it more accessible to pilots without extensive flight backgrounds. The top speed has been reported around 80 to 90 miles per hour, and though flight time varies based on weight and conditions, test flights have demonstrated several minutes of sustained, stable airborne movement, enough to travel short-range missions or tactical insertions. Zapata's vision for the Easy Fly isn't just sport. It's a military and emergency deployment, a personal vertical mobility device that can be trained for, deployed fast, and operated in real-world conditions. It's rugged, modular, and built with field use potential in mind. In a world chasing high-tech spectacle, this machine cuts through with one message: stand up, power up, lift off.
Okay, now it's time for the open discussion.
When they said this is the most shocking Japanese jetpack in all of the world, they weren't kidding. This woman is flying over a cityscape like an anime hero brought to life. With twin fire jets roaring and her suit emblazoned with Japan's iconic red dot, she tears through the sky in a stunt that feels more like a scene from the future than anything we've seen before. But who is she? What tech lies behind those blazing boosters? And why is Japan leading this wild charge into the skies? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to mention #OpenDiscussion. Speeder jet bike of tomorrow. What if a jetpack could carry more than just a human? That's the idea behind the P2 Speeder, developed by Mayman Aerospace. Unlike traditional jetpacks, the Speeder is a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft the size of a motorcycle, powered by 8 jet turbines, capable of carrying a pilot or cargo, and eventually flying autonomously. Its potential is massive: medevac missions, rapid response logistics, fire suppression, or military deployment. Unlike ducted fans or propeller drones, the Speeder uses real jet engines, making it much smaller, faster, and more compact than existing VTOL aircraft. The Speeder can hit speeds of over 250 miles per hour, with projected flight time of around 20 minutes, depending on payload. It's being built with modular mission kits, allowing it to switch between manned and unmanned modes. The military version will likely be autonomous, while the civilian version can be flown manually, like a flying motorbike. The prototype made headlines in 2023 when Mayman released footage of its tethered hover tests. The next-gen units are being developed with full envelope expansion in mind. Q2Jet Underwater Jetpack Breakthrough. Jetpacks aren't just for the sky anymore. Q2Jet brought them underwater and redefined personal propulsion beneath the surface. Billed as the world's first underwater jetpack, Q2Jet delivers a completely new category of movement. Hands-free, body-controlled thrust through water, powered by twin jets mounted on a wearable harness. Designed for professional divers and thrill-seekers alike, it gives users the ability to glide, dive, and maneuver underwater with speed and precision. No fins, no drag. The system runs on electric ducted fans, positioned on each side of the diver's torso. By adjusting body position and tilt, the user can steer through water naturally, leaving both arms free, which is a game changer for search and rescue divers, underwater engineers, and tactical marine units. Q2Jet reaches underwater speeds of up to 8 miles per hour with variable thrust modes and fully rechargeable batteries that offer around 40 minutes of use per charge. It's depth rated to 131 feet, and its modular design fits snugly over most dive gear. What sets it apart isn't just speed, it's the freedom of motion. The feeling is more like flying than swimming. No kicking, no paddling, just full body control in 3-dimensional space. For divers who rely on precision, that's a major upgrade over traditional propulsion scooters or hand thrusters. Developed and manufactured in the UK, Q2Jet is already being used by elite dive teams, luxury underwater tourism operators, and high-performance marine specialists. It's more than a novelty, it's a real working tool, and the first of its kind. By taking jetpack engineering underwater, Q2Jet opened a new frontier. It proved that jet-powered movement isn't limited by gravity, only by imagination. Martin Jetpack. This jetpack didn't make it to mass production, but it got further than most ever will. The Martin Jetpack wasn't just a prototype. It was a serious attempt to bring personal flight into real-world use. Developed by Glenn Martin in New Zealand, this ducted fan jetpack made its debut in 2008, sparking global attention. Unlike traditional rocket or turbine packs, the Martin Jetpack used a gasoline-powered V4 engine to drive two large ducted fans, delivering vertical lift with stability and control. The goal was more than flight. It was utility. This wasn't made for stunt shows. It was designed for first responders, search and rescue teams, and potentially even military and emergency deployment. It could take off vertically, hover, maneuver in tight urban spaces, and land safely with built-in redundancy systems and a ballistic parachute. The aircraft was capable of speeds around 46 miles per hour, with a flight ceiling of about 3,000 feet and up to 30 minutes of flight time depending on load. It was tested under New Zealand's Civil Aviation Authority and even reached the point of receiving piloting permits, something few jetpacks have ever achieved. Despite the progress, the Martin Jetpack never reached commercial rollout. The company faced financial challenges, shifting timelines, and rising development costs. By the late 2010s, the project was shut down and its remaining prototypes were sold off. But what it accomplished can't be dismissed. It was one of the first jetpack designs to move beyond the lab and into aviation regulation, urban mobility planning, and serious emergency use cases. Bell Rocket Belt. Before jetpacks became experimental prototypes or high-tech startups, there was the original, the Bell Rocket Belt. Built in the early 1960s by Bell Aerosystems, this was the first jetpack the world ever saw in real flight. It didn't look sleek or futuristic, but when it ignited, it proved something no one had dared to believe outside of fiction. A human could strap on a machine and lift off the ground under their own power. The rocket belt used concentrated hydrogen peroxide as its fuel. Pumped through a silver catalyst pack, it decomposed into superheated steam and oxygen, blasting through twin nozzles that produced pure vertical thrust. The pilot controlled it with hand grips, tilting forward, back, or side to side for maneuvering. The numbers were limited but groundbreaking. Flights lasted only about 20 seconds, with a maximum distance of around 120 yards and altitudes up to 30 feet. Yet, those seconds changed aviation history forever. It made appearances at high-profile demonstrations, including the 1964 World's Fair, military evaluations, and even in popular culture, most famously in the James Bond film Thunderball. For a moment, the world thought personal jetpacks were about to become a reality. BMW Wingsuit Electric Glide. Known as the turbine wingsuit, this system was pioneered by Peter Salzman, a professional base jumper and skydiver, in collaboration with BMW's Aviation Technology division. Unlike traditional wingsuits, which rely solely on gravity and glide ratio, this design integrates a compact electric propulsion system mounted on the chest. The unit houses two carbon fiber impellers powered by a 50-volt lithium battery pack, producing enough thrust to extend flight time, improve maneuverability, and allow for controlled horizontal acceleration. The electric turbines run at around 25,000 RPM, generating thrust without burning fuel, a bold shift from jet or peroxide-driven packs. In test flights, Salzman reached speeds of nearly 186 miles per hour, but the breakthrough wasn't raw velocity, it was extended flight range. Traditional wingsuits eventually stall as energy bleeds off. With turbines, pilots can climb, adjust trajectory, and sustain flight much longer than gravity alone would allow. The wingsuit itself is streamlined, with rigid aerodynamic shaping to complement the thrust system. Steering remains body-driven, just like a standard wingsuit, but propulsion provides a safety margin and versatility unmatched by passive designs. In 2020, Salzman showcased the system in a dramatic flight across the Austrian Alps, launching from a helicopter, engaging the turbines midair, and soaring over peaks with a powered glide. It was the world's first electric-powered human wingsuit flight, setting a precedent for sustainable propulsion in extreme aviation. Jetman ground to sky. For decades, jetpacks required an aircraft to get them airborne. That changed in Dubai, when Vince Raffet proved for the first time that a human could take off from the ground and climb into the sky on pure jet power. Known as the Jetman Dubai ground-to-sky breakthrough, This achievement was built on years of experimentation with rigid-wing jetpacks developed by Yves Rossi and refined with Refai's team. Until then, Jetman flights always began midair, launched from a helicopter or plane. Ground launches had been considered impossible. The thrust-to-weight ratio and control challenges were too great. In 2020, Vince Raffet accomplished the impossible. Wearing a carbon fiber jet wing fitted with 4 JetCat turbine engines, he accelerated from flat ground into a vertical climb. Within seconds, he was ascending at nearly 150 miles per hour, reaching 6,000 feet of altitude in under 3 minutes. This wasn't a short hop. It was a fully powered, controlled ascent, with the pilot steering by subtle shifts in body position while maintaining stability against raw thrust. From that height, Raffet transitioned into forward flight, proving the wing could not only lift off but sustain high-speed maneuvering once airborne. The feat drew global attention. For aviation experts, it represented a true breakthrough in personal flight capability, the transition from assisted launches to fully independent flight from the ground up. NASA Double MU Space Jetpack. This was NASA's Manned Maneuvering Unit, MMU. The first true jetpack used in orbit, designed to let astronauts move freely outside their spacecraft without safety lines. Developed in the late 1970s and first flown in 1984, it remains one of the most extraordinary breakthroughs in human flight, not through the air, but directly through space. The MMU strapped onto an astronaut's spacesuit like a backpack, weighing about 300 pounds on Earth, but weightless in orbit. It carried 24 nitrogen gas thrusters, controlled through hand grips, which allowed precise movements in all 6 directions. Astronauts could translate, rotate, and hold position with pinpoint accuracy, operating completely untethered for the first time in history. On February 7, 1984, astronaut Bruce McCandless II performed the first untethered spacewalk using the MMU, drifting away from the Shuttle Challenger to a distance of over 300 feet. The iconic images of McCandless floating alone against the black backdrop of space became symbols of just how far jetpack technology had come. The MMU wasn't a concept. It was a working tool. Astronauts used it to test satellite retrieval and inspection, proving it could extend human reach during space operations. Despite its success, it was retired after a handful of missions, as NASA shifted focus to tethered safety systems and robotic arms for future work. Even so, the MMU demonstrated something unprecedented: human-controlled, untethered navigation in open space. It wasn't about speed or spectacle. It was about precision, freedom, and trust in engineering at 17,000 miles per hour. Visa wingsuit powered glide. Forget the cargo bays and high-tech hangars. This breakthrough happened in the open sky, strapped to a pair of jet engines and the sheer guts of a Finnish daredevil. In 2005, Visa Parviainen made history by jumping from a hot air balloon in a jet-assisted wingsuit, mounting 2 turbojet engines on his feet, turning himself into one of the first people to ever fly horizontally under powered thrust without losing altitude. That's right. No glider launch, no fuselage, just jets, fabric wings, and freefall timing dialed to perfection. The setup was raw but real. 2 small jet turbines gave just enough horizontal thrust to offset descent, allowing Parviainen to maintain level flight for about 30 seconds. It wasn't long, but in jetpack evolution, it was critical. He proved that personal propulsion could work on a wingsuit, that you could power up and fly, not just fall with style. Apollo rocket belt revival. If flight was once reserved for machines with wings, the Apollo jetpack tears that idea apart, one thunderous liftoff at a time. Built by Jetpack International, this system doesn't glide or soar gently. It launches vertically, using pure thrust from twin jet engines powered by hydrogen peroxide, the same fuel once used in early rocket programs. The Apollo is loud, hot, and brutally direct. No wings, no glide, just vertical freedom. It's designed for short but dramatic flights, about 30 to 40 seconds of airborne action. That might sound short, but in jetpack terms, that's serious airtime. And during those seconds, you're climbing over 100 feet, traveling up to 60 miles per hour, and pulling off one of the rarest things on Earth: controlled. The controlled, untethered human flight. It's real, and it's available. Not just as a concept, but as a working machine that's been sold, tested, and flown at public events around the world. From air shows to live demos, the Apollo Jetpack doesn't stay on the shelf. It gets fired up and put to work. We're not talking military contracts or experimental prototypes hidden behind hangar doors. Jetpack International offered versions of the Apollo to private buyers, making it one of the few jetpacks to ever cross the line from dream tech to consumer hardware. at least for those with deep pockets and zero fear of altitude. Its design stays raw and focused. Lightweight frame, chest-mounted controls, and a setup that's been refined over years of live flights. ThunderPack Dual Fuel Power. When most jetpacks flirt with the idea of flight, the ThunderPack TPR2G2 grabs it by the throat. Built by Thunderbolt Aerosystems, this isn't a showpiece. It's a brute force pack built for raw lift, real altitude, and short bursts of controlled chaos. It's the second-generation model of their original TPR-1G2, refined and split into two serious variants. The TPR-2G2M runs on high-test hydrogen peroxide, a monopropellant setup that delivers up to 45 seconds of flight with a standard 160-pound pilot. For jetpack terms, that's a solid window. But the real monster is the TPR-2G2D, a dual-fuel variant that mixes H2O2 with military-grade fuels like JP4, JP5, or JP10, unlocking 75 seconds of flight, a top speed of 75 miles per hour, and a range of over 3,600 feet. These aren't guesses. They're based on loadouts, payloads, and fuel weights, calculated and tested. The max takeoff weight hits 340 pounds, giving enough margin for gear, pilot, and payload. The ThunderPack isn't about elegant lines or futuristic styling. It's rough, functional, and focused on vertical power. This is rocket belt lineage evolved, stripped down to mission-ready basics, then cranked into a new class of performance. No wings, just thrust, lift, and raw jetpack aggression. You get vertical takeoff, forward momentum, and the kind of tight, high-control performance that feels closer to a missile system than personal transport. It's not built for tourists. It's built for trained pilots, precision control, and full-throttle thrust on command. Whether it's the M or D model, the ThunderPack doesn't just fly. It climbs, it moves, and it brings that unmistakable rocket pack roar. Thanks for joining this flight through jetpack history. Which invention amazed you most? Tell us in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe to keep flying with us.